district. I'm going to turn it over to her. She'll be sharing today. I'm going to navigate through the slides for you, Kim, and if you need me to do or stop or go, please let me know. Okay. I didn't mean to do that. I meant to put silent. Okay, I'm going to mute myself.
Let me unmute. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kimberly Mathis from Hampton Elementary. I am a special ed teacher. I've taught self-contained, and I'm back in the resource setting this year, and I'm also the district coordinator for the Basque. And today I'm going to be talking about how we took back what we learned in one of our meetings, our district level or school level meetings, with the opportunities to respond, and how we brought that to our staff and kind of coached them through it and walked them through it using the data. Of course, it's always data driven. So this is my presentation for today. Today's objectives, the next slide, just to show you, like I said, the example of what we did with the coaching opportunities, talking about our data a little bit and how the teachers reacted, and kind of learn from what we were presenting and how it fits in with some other stuff that we were doing in our school that we weren't even realizing that we were doing. And it kind of showed them that, you know, we've got an outside person doing the same thing, focusing on the same skills that we're focusing on. So that was kind of a good surprise. So our first steps of our the process, we gave a brief survey just to get a baseline data on what teachers say that they do in their classrooms related to opportunities to respond. We didn't want to present the information to them before we did the survey, just kind of reminded them what we were talking about, whether they use written technology, gestural, verbal, and kind of left it broad. And we gave a few examples on the survey for them to kind of look at, but we didn't want to kind of lead them into to answering what they thought we wanted from them. So we gave the baseline, and then we presented to the staff with the data that we found, and kind of discussed it. And we did, and I'll get into that later, of what we did exactly in the faculty meeting. And then we conducted walkthroughs specifically looking for those strategies that we talked about in the staff meeting. And then our next step is to analyze the data and then go back to the faculty with that, and kind of with some reminders and some kind of reflections of what we saw. So this is an example of our survey, of course, their name, and then it said, thinking about your current classroom in a typical week, select one response for each strategy using gestural responses. And we kind of gave some examples. Thumbs up, you can read there, signal cards, four corners. And it ranges from, you know, don't currently use, maybe once every 2 weeks, 1 to 2 times a week, 3 to 5 times a week, and more than 5 times a week. So we did that with the gestural, written, verbal, and the technology responses for the survey. So it was a quick little 10-minute survey. Nobody complained, so I guess it was okay. All right, next slide. So this is our data from, and I've included in each of our verbal responses. And I've got a color chart or just a basic chart. As you can tell from the verbal response, which of course is what to me would be the easiest, the choral response. We had the whole group discussion had the most, more than 5 times a week, along with the choral response of 32. Things that stood out about not currently using would be the small group discussion. Let's see what else stood out. I think the main thing is the whole group. You know, you expect that to see in your verbal responses, just your choral response, turn and talk more than 5 times a week. So that was pretty good. The next slide would be the gestural responses, from thumbs up to rating with your fingers, stand up, sit down, signal cards, finger voting, 4 corners. More than 5 times a week, we had the thumbs up, thumb down. Your simple takes 2 seconds. This teacher asks a question, the student's thumbs up, thumbs down. The more physical, stand up, sit down, don't currently use, 58%, signal cards, 79%. So that was their responses from the gestural response. And then the next slide, written response. This one, you kind of expect the written Whether it's a simple exit slip, you might not see that as much in some of your math classes or your activity classes. You might not expect that as much, but we gave some examples like a whiteboard, the graffiti boards, quick write, stop, line of learning, guided notes, draw and doodle. So more than 5 times a week, you had 16% of the teachers saying they use the whiteboards. Let's see what else. Quick write, stop and jot, exit slips, that kind of thing, guided notes. Some of the things that weren't currently using was the graffiti board or a pass the paper, kind of a where you have the student maybe write a response and pass and they add to it. So that was just some examples that we gave them for the written. And the next slide would be the tech responses. And I think kind of this is where I was kind of surprised at the data, because we all have nice Promethean boards in our room, and we do talk about things in our professional learning developments that we have each week, about how to motivate students. And we always talk about, what are they used to? They're used to their videos, their phones, their computers. So in order to reach them, we have to start thinking like that and presenting like that. So some examples that we kind of came up: Kahoot, the Nearpod, clickers, a Teams response, some discussion boards, some surveys and pollings. So you can see the teachers more than 5 times a week use a Teams response or some kind of annotation there. They weren't familiar, I guess, with the Answer Garden, Go Soapbox, Back Channel Chat, and other kind of discussion boards, because some of these take time on the front end to do. So I understand why teachers are less, but some of them can be quick. I mean, you have a lot of Kahoots that are already created. You just kind of have to weed through them, or take a minute or two to create your own to kind of make it more toward what you're trying to teach to your students. So that was the data that we received from our brief survey. So we took that data and had a faculty meeting led by myself and our school team leader on opportunities to respond. So we gave the definitions, kind of like what we learned at one of our team meetings, where we gave the definitions and we walked them through the 4 types of opportunities to respond: gestures, verbal, written, technology. And we kind of used the slide deck that was provided by Beth. So that was real neat. Didn't have to create the wheel. So we counted off educators, and we had chart paper around the room, and we rotated and had them add to each chart on kind of what they do, for this verbally, technology, written, or gestures. So we gave them about 3 or 4 minutes. It didn't take long, and they talked in their groups and they kind of wrote on the paper. And then we kind of went around the room and discussed each gestures, kind of what was on the survey, what we went over their answers for the gestures, what the survey found, and we had more discussion on how and added any new ones to the ones we had on the survey, and kind of had discussions about that, on how to incorporate those into our classroom. And then at the end of the faculty meeting, we told them we would be conducting walkthroughs with our leadership team, specifically looking at ways they provided students to respond through those 4 ways: gestures, verbal, written, and technology. So we came up with a little a walkthrough observation form ourselves. So the teachers knew that the next 1 or 2 weeks, when they saw us pop in for these like 20-minute, 15, 20-minute walkthroughs, that this is what we were solely looking for. So this was just the quick little thing that we came up with for that observation. And we kind of had a little cheat sheet to the right that showed the gestural, written, verbal, tech tools. And of course, at the bottom, you could add any comments, but this is what we used going in. We could just circle real quick. And then at the end, we had a lesson summary, the total of opportunities to respond observed. So of course, if we saw a thumbs up or thumbs down, we circled it. If they did it more than one, we just said how many times we didn't say, oh gosh, they choral response 12 times during this. We just circled that they used that type of method. And then we kind of how we talked about whether the teachers did more of the talk and the students did more of the response, or it was an equal balance. So it's just kind of a quick picture of what the teachers were able to do in their classroom in that time frame. And this is the data, once again, from our walkthroughs, and we were only able to do 10 observations, which of course is not a large sample, but this is what we got. And again, here's that, it wasn't a surprise. I think that technology's, it's sounds easy and sounds fun, but it's just hard to get that in. So out of the 10 observations, 70% of the teachers use the gestural responses. 60% use the written. Of course, verbal, if the teacher's talking and asking one question, you got to have verbal to be a teacher. So that was good, but it was there was some different, there was a lot of scaffolding, choral, stop and talk, choral response volunteers, little popcorn stuff, different ways to use the verbal. And of course, the technology, was a little less, but it's kind of expected that, I guess. This time of year too, you're kind of in crunch mode, trying to prepare for testing. But there was some neat stuff that I saw. I liked one, if you look under the teacher 3, under the gestural, it says, show me, put your hand on your nose if the answer is this, or put your hand on your head, so that way the kids can kind of, it makes it fun for them, and watching whether you put it on your nose or your hand, or grab your ear, or stand up or sit down, just kind of gets them moving. And then if they see somebody next to them touching their nose, they're trying to figure out why they're touching their nose, and okay, I need to pay attention because they're having fun touching their nose, So we saw some neat stuff. But like I said, it was only 10 observations, and there are, a brief snippet of what teachers really do in a classroom, and we understand that. But it was a good data point. Got some good data from it. All right, the next slide. So again, here's the data, and a reminder of that is it is just a 10 to 15 minute walkthrough, and that a formal observation, of course, is going to show you more of what the teacher can do. So we still need to kind of push and remind teachers to be creative, to keep those students motivated, to keep them willing to learn and on task. All right, and the last slide, I think, our next steps, is to present this data to the teachers and to continue incorporating these strategies in our weekly professional learning developments. And this is what we've done so far. We've covered like menti.com with little one-word answers for them to do. 2 weeks ago, we did the See, Think, Wonder. And if you see the picture of the little Chick-fil-A cart, I think that's like a little delivery thing you'll see like on college campuses. We don't have any in here in Hampton County, but so you show the kid a picture and you have a discussion, or you have them write, or however, what do you see? What do you think that is? What do you wonder? Maybe wonder what the pros and the cons. So you get them thinking. So you kind of can do that with like a volcano, or you can do it with a math problem, or you can do it with, just anything you're introducing, a picture of Abraham Lincoln, just to get them kind of prompted into thinking about where your lesson's going to go. Last week we did Chat GPT. So we're going to continue doing that, introducing these little tech things to do with that the teachers can do. We had a meeting 2 weeks ago with our new open court textbook representative, and I'm sitting in that meeting, and they were focusing in on getting kids motivating and how teachers can kind of watch for their responses and what they can do. And I'm like, oh, this ties in exactly to what we've been talking about in our behavior groups. So that was neat that the teachers got to see that hey, this group's doing this and this group's doing that. It must be kind of important. So I guess next time we can kind of present this data, and then do another specific walkthrough focusing on what students answer. Like we could focus on, okay, there's 20 kids in this classroom, and we have their names on a sheet when we go in, and we document who answers that, because a lot of times teachers don't realize, okay, this one kid's dominating all the answers. So that would be another quick little 10-minute walkthrough, 15-minute, just kind of seeing this kid answer and how they answered, just to show that, okay, you had 15% of your kids answered, the other 85 didn't answer, and how can we improve that? So if they want to know specific of who maybe that would be another little walkthrough that we could do for our class and our teachers. And that is all I had. Um, Other than, I'm going to give a quick shout out to, at our high school, Miss Jennifer Nelson. She is our instructional coach, and she is my school teacher coordinator for the Hampton High School. She is one of 5 candidates for Teacher of the Year. So I wanted to make sure I got a shout out in there for her. Congratulate her and wish for her good luck.
That's exciting. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Kimberly,
Yes.
for sharing.
Yeah.
That was great.
Okay.
I don't
Thank
know
you,
if
Dr. Mathis.
Well, okay.
and congratulations, Jennifer. That is a big deal for the whole state. So yes. Does
Thanks.
anyone have any questions for Kimberly now that she's finished with the didactic? Great job, Kimberly. Oh, you can pop them in the chat if you do have any questions.
Okay.
But I was going to say, I love that your school used tools that we provided, but in a way that made sense for you in your setting. That was really good. Oh, we have a new question. We did have a question from Stephen. How did folks respond to the walkthroughs happening? What were their responses as you were doing the walkthroughs?
Oh, they were fine. They're used to us popping in and out. And a lot of it, we do kind of tend to do more walkthroughs with our newer teachers
Hmm.
and teachers that might be struggling, but everybody, we do walk through everybody. So it's kind of but they're used to it. We pop in and out all the time. So it's nothing, it's no added stress. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, that is good. Anyone else have any questions?
Just to piggyback off of Kimberly, so we use the same observation tool as well. We just modified it to use for us at the high school. But we also had teachers do peer walkthroughs using the same tool so that they could see what was going on in other people's classrooms and then come back and discuss in PLC. So they got that feedback even before we had admin do walkthroughs as well.
I love that. Yeah, it's kind of a peer coaching opportunity also because you're getting ideas from your peers of things that you maybe want to try in your classroom, as well as, of course, observing to collect data. How'd you find the time for peer walkthroughs? How did that go, Jennifer?
So our teachers meet during their planning block for their PLC. So that week I would release them from our normal PLC meeting time and said, hey, during your planning, I want you to go see 2 other teachers outside of your content area, outside of your normal PLC group. So
Oh,
I gave them time and space to do that.
that was good. I love that. Yes. That was very smart. Hmm. And I love providing the visuals of the data, Kimberly, for your staff so they could see what was going on. And it was not something additional, Jennifer, for your team either, which was really good. But yeah, I love the visuals of the data. That was a great idea. So they can see things. Sometimes seeing things makes things a little more real than just hearing about it. Can we have one more question? Oh, Crystal has a question. I would love to have a copy of the observation forms you both use. Yes. I thought it would be great to share, and I would love to see what the high school teachers came up with. Yes, across, so we can hit across all of our levels. We have time for one more question. Anyone from our team or from the cohort want to give one more question to Kimberly about their process or questions about anything from top to bottom, her survey for the baseline data?
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I didn't necessarily have a question, but I do like, as you pointed out, Maya, as well, making a visual. Our teachers, we just had them to do the low intensity strategies for behavior. So they did the peer observations. So it'll be interesting to see which strategy, most teachers chose. And then looking at their implementation, the fidelity of how they implemented. So I like some of those charts so that I can kind of present that back to the teacher. So I did like that idea.
Yes, thank you. That's why we're here, so that you all can learn from one another. We really want to make sure that you all feel supported, not just from us, but from your cohort. So this is exactly why we are really developing this community of practice between. you all. So thank you so much, Kimberly. Thank you, Tara, for sharing. Thank you all for sharing and being here. Okay, we're going to move forward to